Welcome to the Vision Profiles podcast. Join us, two dedicated Apple Vision Pro users, as we dive into everything from hardware and software to apps and the latest updates in the world of Apple Vision Pro. I'm Marty Jencius, a faculty member at Kent State University, podcaster, and an avid Apple product fan.
And I'm Eric Bolden. I work in IT, but my interest is in finding interesting ways to share content, currently photography of plants and birds and panoramic sequences.
And we're going to, this show has got a lot about, I think, photography in it, and particularly video. So I'm really leaning heavily on Eric to provide us with some better insights than I have about photography and video. And we've been playing around with it. We'll get into that when we talk about some apps that are out there that could be of interest, but still need some work, apparently. I want to remind you, you can follow this stream on youtube.com/@visionprofiles Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or catch the video later on YouTube or the audio on any podcast service that you use. So some news. Tim Cook has been waxing eloquently about the future of Apple Vision Pro. And it's interesting because there's sometimes he gets and defends it, and other times he is just kind of, well, it's a product in work, and we still have some things to do with it. This is a 9 to 5 article that he is interviewed in a Wall Street Journal. So it goes back to the Wall Street Journal article. And there's one key quote they talk about in this article. When Tim Cook's referring to the Vision Pro, he says, the Vision Pro will keep getting better, but he defines the success in this way. Over time, everything gets better. And it too will have its course of getting better and better, Cook says. I think it's just arguably a success today from an ecosystem being built out point of view. So his message there is that it's, this whole project is about building an ecosystem at this point. It's not about necessarily a finished product. And, he alludes to how the product itself will get better, and we'll see changes in it. So I might have ordered this whole process wrong in what we're going to talk about, but there is a slew of articles, an avalanche of articles on how Vision Pro is dead. And we'll get to those. I think it's kind of funny that given all the things that have occurred with Vision Pro this week, these articles came out at the same time and said, Vision Pro is kind of dead. Let's go ahead and go into those.
Well, before we jump into that, I guess related to what the Tim Cook article, I think it's important to remember that Apple really almost never lets people effectively drop into development labs and see what they're doing as it's going along. This is the first product I really can remember, unless you go way back to, like when people first got Next, there just wasn't a lot there, where you get to see it early in the process as they're ironing out details and trying new things, and it definitely isn't really fleshed out and complete, but it's very fully usable. As you get something out of it for sure. You get to see stuff that there is no other way to view it.
Yeah, it's an interesting development point of Apple. And I think a lot of the articles, It's been an interesting week because I followed these last week, the day after we did our show, these articles started to hit. And so I was on other shows, you were on them too, where people were saying, well, what about this article? You're the Vision Pro guy. What do you think of this? And I found myself having to be sort of on the defense with it. But the breakdown of these articles, essentially, the material comes from a anonymous report of a couple of suppliers who said, hey, Apple's cut back on their supply stream from us. And from there, it just snowballed into, oh, Apple's not going to purchase components. So from these two people, so it must mean that they're cutting back on Vision Pro. And then it even went to the extreme where it's like, it's dead. It's not coming back. It's not a product that's going to, it's going to, and may stop completely soon. This is Apple Insider. And then call to back. Apple could soon end production of Vision Pro headset. So it just expanded and expanded and expanded. And I spent some time on the shows defending how this is just an extrapolation of information from little to crazy. And I must have got it right. The only reason I say that is because I think it was almost yesterday or near the end of the week, John Gruber comes out with an article that says Vision Pro bites dog. That's the title of the article. And again, links will all be in the show notes for this. Uh, and there was also then a sort of a let's roll it back a little bit article that was put together by Apple Insider. But I'll tell you, John Gruber does a nice job in that article saying, let's take a look at the numbers. Let's take a look at what we know about production. Let's take a look about how these issues and stories started and how everybody wanted to jump on this gun about how the Vision Pro is dead because it makes much more popular press than saying it's in development, it's a new product. Um, so yeah, um, the article that came out after that was Apple Insider, and the Apple Insider article kind of said, "Is it a first year flop, or is it tomorrow, or is it really today?" You know what? So a little bit of forgiveness in terms of what has been said about this traumatic week that Apple Vision Pro had.
Yeah, I don't know what to say.
See, I find these articles, I put them all together, and then Eric just blows them off in a way, I mean, you read them and you know what the information is, but um,
I mean, how many different ways can you say I really have no patience and I can't enjoy the parts that work well? I, you know, given how many articles are being written about Apple Intelligence and all of the different things it'll be able to do, followed immediately by, well, not in this version, but coming out in another version. Well, not quite yet, and coming in another version. So I fully expect we will see a bunch of doom and gloom on that too, right before they come out with an update.
yeah,
And this is hardware, that's software. So it's a lot easier to continue to come out with updates. Um, yeah. Now, that being said, I was really happy to see all of the new articles coming out about all of the new things finally starting to show up.
yeah. I mean, Gruber, I think, referred to the fact that, I just last week posted an article about surgeons using Vision Pro, and then all this doom and gloom comes about.
Yeah.
So it's those kind of articles and I'm going to change the order of our show notes because we're about two-thirds into the show. We have to go back and do the actual news, the kind of stuff that is happening with it and who's getting invested in it in terms of software and productivity. Um, so yeah, that whole section in the news I referred to as the sky is falling because all of those articles were around that kind of issue. So another article This I think is exciting. The Vision Pro guest mode may soon be controlled via iPhone.
That's really cool. That's gonna be nice.
And the story about that is I think they found some code in iOS 18.2 that pointed to the possibility of a controller mode. I think a couple of shows back, I said I had taken some guests to the Apple store and got to stand behind the guy while he did the actual demo and being able to run it off the iPad that he had. And I said, "Hey, that's really cool. You think Apple will ever let that software loose?" He said, "No, no, this is proprietary." But it's if it's anything like that, it's exactly what we need if you want to put this on someone else's head, that you can kind of walk them through it once it gets set up.
And realistically, there has to be a way to let more and more people experience a demo of the Apple Vision Pro, especially if they're a distance away from an Apple store or they're, once you have it, you need to be able to let more people try it without having to either wipe the whole device and hand it over or, hand it over to let people try it and then hand it back and reset permissions and that just makes everybody
Mhm.
frustrated. So make it easy to demo. That just
You
helps
know,
everyone.
and Meta has that within their app, where you can mirror it to a iPad or a tablet, and you can talk people through the process of setting up or getting into games or what to do when they're in games. So you see what they're experiencing it when they're experiencing it too. So the idea of having that mirror, or hopefully it'll be an effective mirror that the device can be used to help you engage guest users in a way that's helpful. So,
Well, what you really need to be able to do is start it mirroring to an iPad, but have a control on the iPhone so that if somebody's looking at something and they pop into a movie or something where it turns off mirroring, that you can
mhm.
then turn it back on again without having to do the headset swap.
Yeah,
That's what I'm looking forward to.
yeah, and you and I experienced that when we did demos at Macstock. It's like if you go into a movie, we really want you to go into a movie, but you're on your own at that point. You're going to have to figure out how to navigate it because we can't see it. And Cletus is saying, don't think it will be 3D. Yeah, I'm sure it won't be 3D on the device if it's done.
Yeah, but the control part of changing permissions or turning mirroring on and off, that kind of that part doesn't have to be 3D. You just need to be able to do it without having to move the headset, especially if you
Yeah.
use inserts, because trying to put the lens inserts in and swap it back and then take them back out again, that's just a hassle. Make it really easy to hand it off to, and potentially even be able to hand it through a string of different people. That would be really nice.
Okay, a couple of articles that I think were pretty cool. Um, Apple bringing spatial photo and video support to Safari for Vision Pro users.
Finally.
And then spatial content shot for Apple Vision Pro will soon be viewable in Safari. And another article from 9 to 5 Mac, it's about to get a lot easier to share spatial photos and videos for Vision Pro. And the gist of these articles is a report from Petapixel. It was information shared with Petapixel, whatever that is. I'm sorry, I don't mean to insult Petapixel fans. I know there are lots out there. Um, During a conversation with Apple's product manager, Della Huff, and the design team member, Billy Sorrentino, spatial media is coming to Safari. And what this means is you can embed spatial pictures or video, but you have to have a device to be able to see it that way. So Safari will, if you're cruising Safari with your Vision Pro headset on and there are spatial elements in it, you'll see it. But if someone without that headset goes on and looks at it on a computer screen in a browser, they won't see it. So it's kind of a special pop-up dimensional thing. One if that is placed in the website, and it can then be seen with someone wearing the device or looking at the device.
which is really big because right now you can move your spatial picture images and videos into an album and you can publish the album out, but you just get a flat album with no spatial anything. And yeah, you can share it and make it public so lots of people can see it, but it doesn't give you anything that's actually spatial. I am hoping this change will take care of that. So if you publish a spatial album, you get spatial photos, and when you make it public and you send a link, people can visit it with an Apple Vision Pro and cleanly see exactly what you intended them to see. And I have been looking for that without having to custom code it ever since I got the Apple Vision Pro. So for me, this is great. This is really big.
Yeah, and covered by Mac Rumors, Apple Insider, and 9 to 5 Mac, all pretty much citing the same source, um, giving the same explanation of how it's going to work. So those will be again in the show notes. Just a reminder that you can always join us live in the YouTube stream, just like Cletus and Daniel. Is Daniel with us? I don't think Daniel's with us, but Cletus says, "Hey, Daniel." So you can join us in the live stream, youtube.com/at Vision Profiles on Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Catch the video later on YouTube or audio on any of your podcatching services. So let's see. We've gone through the news. We've gone through the spatial photography and video with Vision Pro. We've gone through, or at least I've talked about the sky is falling articles about how Vision Pro is going to go away, and a little bit about John Gruber and Daring Fireballs, our blog that he wrote. So, beta, there is a new beta out for people who are not doing developer betas. It is Vision OS 2.1, brings stability and bug fixes to Apple Vision Pro. And I don't know if the article, again, this is Apple Insider, if it talks about anything more. Is this the RC
Is it 2.1 or 2.2?
2.1?
Because 2.1 is out, it's not beta. That's what came out today, right?
Yeah, yeah. And this is
Yeah.
from today. Yeah.
So that's like excellent news. You don't need to be doing the beta. You could be, we'll have the new betas coming out soon. But for everyone who didn't want to do the beta, it's time to update.
Silly, silly people. Um, so yeah, this is a significant update that the beta folks have been playing with for a while, and it's now in its master. So update, it'll take care of some bug fixes. And you mentioned in pre-show we were talking that I guess everybody else came out with there
Yes.
were yeah. So tvOS,
And iOS and watch OS and iPad OS and Mac OS update. Today was updates day. OS updates and iMac. And
yeah.
then tomorrow we get new presents because
Well,
it's the
we
week of presents this week.
I saw this. Yeah. Well, the iMac, I'm not interested with because I don't need that form factor anymore. It's a second computer that's in a second bedroom that we barely turn on nowadays. Um, but you also forgot the big news of today that we got USB-C mice. The Magic Mouse USB-C still plugs in the bottom, still can't use it when you're charging it. And then a USB-C keyboard. And I noticed they had Apple silicon based keyboards and with Touch ID.
Yeah, that's nice.
And they also came out with the pads, the what hell, I
Touchpads?
lost what?
Touchpads?
Touch pads. Yeah. So they have a touchpad now that is also USB-C. So you can get all your USB dreams filled for about three and a half, $400. You can just convert everything over. They'll work the same as the old lightning cables. And as you said, we've got two other possibilities. We have a MacBook Pro with an M4 in it coming out later this week, and we also have a Mac Mini, maybe a redesigned Mac Mini.
Frost. I'm really hoping for that one.
What do you want to do with a Mac Mini?
Oh, I love the Mac Mini. It's a little bit smaller form factor. I want to stick one on the table next to where I sit in the living room or next to the bed, one or the other. And I'm not exactly sure which. So that I have a dedicated machine. So when I'm wearing my Apple Vision Pro, I can share from a device right next to me. So I don't have to keep taking my laptop out and opening it up.
Mm-hmm.
But my desktop machine is a mini.
Oh, okay.
So being able to get, I'm hoping it'll support Apple Intelligence, so it'll be a 16 gig machine. So
Yeah.
16 gig machine with a smaller form factor. Hopefully they don't just double or triple the price. Um, and it then becomes sort of the perfect machine for remoting into work. I think I've got a lot of users at work that would find it really useful. And then you slap whatever display you want.
I can't haven't quite figured it out. I think I'll use it to replace the one I have at my office. And it's the computer that I use at work is a computer I supply, not that the university supplies, because the university supplies just I can't work with them. So I think I have an M2 uh,
Okay.
Mac Mini in the office. So I might just sell it in and upgrade it. Um, yeah, Cletus is asking M4. That's the rumor that they're all going to be
Yep.
M4s. And which one do you think will come next? We know I kind of said the iMac's coming out. That's the first announcement because it's the one that people aren't salivating for. Which are they going to do the MacBook M4, MacBook Pro M4, or are they going to do the Mac Mini? You got a 50-50 chance of being right.
I don't know, right? Like, are they going to go through the week and have a one more thing? Or, I don't know what they could have as a surprise. So if you figure you've got the 14 and 16-inch MacBook, that could kind of be standalone on its end. So I figure that would they do all the hardware on the same day or separate it?
No, no, they did one today. The
So
question
you
is,
got the
when are they going to
iMac.
do?
So then say, I guess well, you do the iMac because that wasn't a huge amount of change. It's not a new form factor.
Yeah,
Because normally I would think you would go from low end to high end. So normally it would be the mini first, but it's the iMac because they didn't change the form factor. If they change the
right.
form factor, then it'll be mini next, and then it'll be well, except the form factor's not changing on the
The MacBook Pro. No, it's
MacBook
not.
Pro. So then it would be the iMac, then it would be the MacBook Pros, and then it'll be the mini. There's
Yeah.
still a chance they could do them both on the same day because maybe they've got something else Maybe there's a couple software updates that they're coming out with,
Hmm.
but huh.
Yeah, I didn't check when these things were available. I didn't check when the iMac was available. Um,
You could order it now, but I don't know. Was it shipping on like the 8th?
I have no idea.
Um, huh.
Well, why
Excellent.
don't you
I
go
will
ahead
look
and look
that
that
up
up,
while you're
and
talking.
I will start to talk about a research and development. I put a little section called R&D. Apple presses on with a headset that's an iPhone on your face. And I'll tell you, I looked at this article and I thought, didn't I get a Google thing that you put on your head and you slide your phone in it? And it doesn't mention it in the article, but it does mention it in some comments. It's basically Viewmaster. Remember the old Viewmasters with the two
Yep.
screens, and you can, get that stereoscopic vision.
Except
Uh,
the resolution of the display is now significantly higher.
yeah,
So if you did it right, could you get sort of a Apple Vision Pro viewer effect for spatial images? I don't know. They keep rolling it out. This has been coming out for quite a while. I'm sort of surprised they keep updating it, but who
yeah.
knows?
Somebody's keeping that alive in Frankenstein's lab.
It wouldn't surprise me if they're doing something like this to be able to test some concepts without having to hand everybody an Apple Vision Pro.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would ever actually get released though, but I could see them using it to test concepts.
Yeah,
Um,
the diagram, and I guess it's a patent diagram, has a separate remote control that will work for the headset. So the idea is that it's going to not necessarily tethered, but it'll be a device that you can use to move through whatever's you're seeing on your in
hmm.
your eyes.
It's an interesting concept. It doesn't seem totally practical yet, but maybe some variant. IMAX, you can pre-order now, but they'll be available starting the 8th of November.
Oh, okay. So you were right with that guess. Um, so yeah, I'll post this article for folks who are interested. Apple presses on with headset that's an iPhone on your face. The reviews, or at least the comments, weren't too kind. Do you really want this on your face? And just looking at the device, or at least the diagram of the device, I just don't see how it's going to be doing anything other than displaying images or displaying video uh, on a screen. There doesn't seem to be any other kind of infrastructure in it to do anything else. So,
But does it really need to do anything else? I mean, before the Apple Vision Pro came out, I would have purchased something like that just to watch, Viewmaster slideshows.
I got one of those, something like that, years ago, and the idea was that you tether it to your phone, and I forget what the device was, but
Hmm.
I was looking at it from a potential research standpoint. What I wanted to create was a environment for sort of a simulated environment of a school counselor walking around a school. And what I
Hmm.
would do is shoot video and have the student or the school counselor, the trainee, kind of walk around the school and interact with other people.
Hmm. Okay.
And just to give them some sort of immersive experience of doing it. And I got the headset. It looked like really, oh, I don't know. It's hard to describe. It was not huge. It was just like thin band headset with that you could attach to a phone, and was never really able to get the setting to work right with it. But the idea was you'd have this stereoscopic kind of vision of whatever you produced that would be done through the headset. And the person could sit in a chair. They wouldn't have to be mobile. They sit in the chair because you'd do the walking with the video.
Hmm.
Um, but that never quite got off the ground. So yeah, that's that. Let's look at another couple of use case stories.
Mhm.
Um, the pilot training. So the Canadian Aviation Electronics, the CAAE, specializing in flight simulation and training technology, has announced on Tuesday that it's been working on a new app that will use the Apple Vision Pro's special computing to train pilots. I think it's a pretty cool.
That was a
Uh,
neat idea. I like that.
yeah, and this was one of those stories, and we got a few of them this week. That's like, oh yeah, it's dead. Well, not according to the Canadian Aviation Electronics Society. That they're putting their time and their money into it. They're going to develop an immersive pilot training app for the Vision Pro. It was demonstrated at a conference in Las Vegas. Um, but there is a, because I keep getting teased either in Reddit about like a pilot simulation that someone's trying to create
Hmm.
for Apple Vision Pro. And when people, the person's putting it forth like, hey, I'm working on this. This is really good, blah, blah, blah. When people chase it down, they can't find it. And they're saying, this is all, I'm sure that they're not saying that the person isn't doing this. What they're saying is, this is what you're seeing as examples are not rendered examples from any type of software. They are examples, but they're not something that
Uh,
will work in an AR headset.
hmm.
Um, but there are people who are trying to chase down this pilot training kind of stuff in the headset. That would be very cool if they did have a flight simulator.
Well, I think even if they get something that's not good enough to be a full simulator, if it at least lets you get used to everything and where it is, from a relatively realistic perspective before you go to a simulator, then the simulator hours, I think, are more worthwhile.
Yeah. Um, I did something like that in Second Life. I don't know if you're familiar with Second Life,
Yeah.
3D environment. And we built a training center, like a daycare school.
Hmm.
And the idea was that um, the counselor or the person in charge would interact with the child and try and do play therapy with them.
Okay.
The child was actually portrayed by an instructor.
Oh,
And the idea was, instead of just taking, um, you know, child counselors and throwing them in the environment and go with it, this is maybe not perfect, but it puts them a step closer to what the experience is. So the same thing I
wow.
would imagine with something with, as you were saying, that's triggered
Yeah.
my thought. This is the step in between from just learning how to do it and actually doing it. There's this simulation we can put in the middle of it. Okay. Cletus in the chat room says, I know my field vendors are developing for products and training. So people are in on it. This article is Cisco announces Cisco spatial meetings for the Apple Vision Pro. Have you been much of a Cisco user or involved with Cisco?
I mean, we've got Cisco products all over the place. I haven't dealt with the meetings though. We've ended up using other stuff. I know that um, there are some dedicated meeting rooms available, but it's not something I've used.
Yeah, Cisco WebEx, I guess. Am I correct with that? Through advanced
Um,
AI powered devices and WebEx software. Cisco
well, the
has already made,
WebEx stuff we use, and in fact, Apple uses that for a bunch of their meetings as well. But this
yeah,
looks like going further, adding more depth and more kind of room structure, I guess. It'll be
they're going
fun
to
to
use
watch
it.
that because I think there's a bunch of background setup that you have to have a meeting like that work well.
Yeah. So they're using NVIDIA chipsets and dual lens cameras. And they have, it's an interesting article. They show a screenshot of it. And it's a Distant Zero initiative aims to eliminate the sense of physical separation in today's hybrid work environments. That sounds like a salesperson wrote that or a marketing person wrote that. But it's coming out of 9 to 5 Mac. So,
Yeah.
uh, and here's the one, the article that I was excited about having used Vimeo before. But Vimeo releases a Vision Pro app with spatial video support um, after YouTube shuns the Apple's headset. So that's a title that gets to kill two birds with one stone. You get to insult YouTube and you get to prop up Vimeo. I'm a slight Vimeo user in the sense that I use it because I produce some materials for some associations in a video format, and the way they store that and make private access for their members is to do it through a Vimeo site.
Hmm.
So I'm uploading stuff to Vimeo now. Frankly, it's just talking heads. It's and some information on slides with it. It doesn't require a lot of care or nurturance. Um, and it works. It works well for us. And so I was excited to be able to have a site where I might be able to send spatial videos that then I can share with folks like you, Eric, Cletus, David Ginsburg, folks I know who have headsets to kind of share that around. And I was yesterday, Sunday afternoon, Aileen was looking out in the backyard and said, "My, that's pretty out there." And somehow, maybe I just was putting this article together and I thought, I got to go out and shoot this. So I shot some. For originally, I was going to do it on my headset. And I thought, no, I don't want to drag my headset around. And so I did it on my 16 Pro Max and immediately sent it to you. Uh, actually put it on Vimeo and then realized I was on a different account. I was on my business account instead of my private account. And so I took it off of Vimeo and now have it on my private account. I will share, it's a public link. I'll share it in the show notes for folks if they want to see. But it was me just walking around my backyard, not saying anything, looking up in the trees and looking down. And frankly, I got a little vertigo looking up myself and looking around and then spinning, with and really focusing on the screen and not kind of focusing on where my inner ear was at the time. Um, and the video I thought was pretty good. I could see the dimensionality of it when I watched it on my phone, but you have a different story. You got it on the user end.
Yeah. Now, I have to say, the concept of what they're trying to do, I am fully in favor of this because this has been something driving me nuts for quite a while. Um, so I did the same thing. I sent you two links, one with bees on some flowers, and another one where you break open a mushroom and get to watch it change color. But I watched yours, and then what I got was the depth effect was kind of broken up. It was all choppy. Um, and there were sections where it almost seemed like the it wasn't lining up right. You know, like if you get a 3D movie that's out of sync, where there was depth and then there wasn't depth and there was
Yeah.
depth and there wasn't. So I took and I uploaded a couple of movies, and then I could watch the movie in Vimeo and watch the movie coming out of the Photos app side by side. And when I watched the one in the Photos app, everything was clean. It worked. It ran. When I watched the one in Vimeo, the color was a little bit different and the depth wasn't quite right. And when you upload, it talks about going and doing a bunch of compression. So I don't know if they just haven't gotten the compression quite right, or they uploaded it and break it into a couple of parts and reassemble it and are missing something, or maybe they are over compressing it and it loses just enough detail that it's not quite believable. Um, it's worth looking at. You know, you've got your link, I've got a couple of links, so you might as well add them all to the show notes so people can
Yeah.
watch it. I will see if I can figure out a way to put the original someplace. We may have to wait until Safari lets us do that. But um, you know,
So
it was not quite there for me. And I really wanted it to be because I have a whole pile of video I really want to share with people, and I don't have a good way of doing
yeah.
it.
So right now, what you're suggesting, I remember this because I went into my photos on my headset and
Hmm.
looked at the video. I'll tell you what I didn't like about it.
Okay.
I'm also watching Star Trek Strange New Worlds.
Okay.
And whenever Star Trek goes into warp, the
Uh,
center screen kind of remains normal, but the side screen looks like somebody smeared it.
oh,
And
yeah.
I
Okay.
don't like this thing that they do where you get your 3D video in the middle and then you get this boxed effect that's kind of
Hmm.
blurry around the outside of it. So I really kind of have to frame myself on that box to be able to get the three-dimensional aspect of it. I think you can click to do a panoramic view of it, and that doesn't seem to help that issue either.
Hmm.
Uh, so I will try and do a shared folder with you with that video in it, and
Okay.
then you can see if we can because you proposed the solution before the show that what we probably need to do is do shared videos in through photos might be
Yeah.
the best way to do it at this time in terms of sharing um, this kind of material with other Vision Pro users. And I'll share the video I have. Maybe I'll take well, once it becomes a shared folder, you can put your stuff in it too, if this works. And then we can share it with David and Cletus and, folks that will get a chance to see what it looks like in their headset. It was my first venture into doing spatial video, but
Now, one
I
thing
just
I'm
found a good
kind
day
of
for doing it.
curious about, and you could probably answer this better. Um, does the Vimeo kind of 3D effect work on other headsets since it's Vimeo?
I don't know. One of the
Because,
things there are some advanced settings in the Vimeo when you load it
okay.
that is like advanced settings, and then it goes like 360,
Okay.
and so, or it was not 360, it was something. Yeah, and Cletus is suggesting Infuse as an app where we could do that. So I
Oh,
will.
Yeah.
I will play with that too. And maybe next show we'll talk about what worked for us in terms of shared video.
Well, and we can definitely share out the Vimeo examples. It might take us a little longer to get the original source
Yeah.
for people to compare, but then people can at least see.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
and if I have to, I can upload it because there are a couple of other sites that let you upload video that seems to work.
mhm.
So I'm kind of thinking Vimeo just needs time to play with it and get feedback, and eventually they'll tweak it and fix
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, I've got to tell you that the motion stabilization works really well on the phone because
Yeah.
I stepped off my deck
Mm.
while I was shooting that video because I was paying so much attention to the camera that I wasn't paying attention to my feet and almost slipped and fell off the deck, but
Wow.
managed to keep the video nice and stable in the
Nice.
process. And I wasn't holding it, I wasn't using a gimbal or anything like that to stabilize it. Um, so yeah, we'll play around with that. I'm excited about Vimeo. It is a major platform for this kind of stuff. So
Hmm.
if they get into it, then boo-hoo YouTube. You
Well,
had
and
your
between
chance.
that and then as soon as Safari supports it more natively, so
Yeah,
that you can have a series of links and then follow through a story with video.
yeah. And also checking out Infuse,
Yeah.
which I think I can't remember. You Infuse, I think, has like a monthly uh, subscription, which I think what's kept me out of the pro model of that.
When I haven't used, I haven't tried putting video someplace else though. I just use it locally, so I'll have to
Yeah.
tinker around to see if I can park it someplace.
This just came up on we're going to talk about new apps worth mentioning, and
Uh-huh.
under that we put Vimeo. And there is another one that came up that I frankly I was eating dinner and it showed up in Reddit, and I'm very curious about it, and I actually clicked the link to try it out. It's called Spatial Film, and you might be able to search for it in the App Store.
Okay.
It has high quality 180 and 360 films with immersive environments that put you in the story. And the way this app works, from what I can tell, is you're purchasing access to the application. I mean, you don't have to, you can just download the app.
Hmm.
But if you want to have access to their library, you can get access by paying a monthly subscription. And so
Okay.
at this point, I think you could download the app and see what they have and see how it works and probably continue to have that and then make a decision if you want to do that. But they're talking about next week they're going to do a new free film every other week, but with a subscription, you get like three films a week
Hmm.
that are for subscribers. And it's 999 a month. So it's just sort of on the high end for me for monthly subscriptions, but I'm curious about it. I don't know if it has the ability for people to contribute stuff. Like if I wanted to send in my backyard fall colors video, or if this where they're getting their sources from.
Hmm.
But someone attached to the app did a little promotion in the Apple Vision Pro subreddit, and it's called Spatial Film. And the link
Sounds
was
kind
in
of
the
interesting.
subreddit to
Yeah.
for people to add the app, and I went ahead and did it. Next time I go on Vision Pro, it'll be in my purchased, or it'll be in my added, I guess purchased, even though I hadn't done any in-app on it yet.
Hmm. Yeah, looks kind of neat. I'll give that a try.
So, besides all the things you're going to buy this week from Apple, all the upgrades.
Well, the hard part is trying to wait until the end of the week so that I have seen all of it before I make my decision. Because I'm trying not to go overboard.
Okay, so you're going to wait till the end of the week so you can choose from all the puppies that are in the puppy mill to figure out which one you want to take home.
Well, the Mini was on my list to purchase,
Yeah.
so I don't have to try too hard for that one. But, you know, if it looks good enough, well, I might end up with something else too.
Yeah, the Mini I think is on my list because I'm interested in the form factor and interested in what it can do.
Yeah. And
Um,
I'm interested in it because I think I can have the Mini, an iPad, and the Vision Pro and my phone, and I can carry around a portable battery pack and use it kind of wherever I am or in the car, or, I can move it around and it won't draw very much power.
yeah, I for me, I'm torn. I always would hope the Mini could be a portable device I could take with me when I travel. But then I have to think about screens.
That's what
Like,
the iPad is for.
I yeah, but then why am I bringing an iPad instead of just bringing my laptop and a second screen? So I have a monitor already attached to a computer, and I could have a second monitor with the flat monitor that I carry with me when I
Well, I
travel.
mean, you only need the iPad long enough to get logged in if you've got encryption turned on, and then you can use the Vision Pro for the screen,
Yeah,
and the iPad could be something else. It's only just a short time, long enough to get it running. For
yeah,
me, like, I don't go to a different place every, it's like I'm in a particular place and I will be there for a week. And I just want to have my environment there. If I can bring up a Mac Mini, I just need to be able to log in. Once I log in, it's there, and then I can remote into it or use the Apple Vision for the screen. Yeah, I could take a laptop, but right now I have a work laptop and I don't want to take that. I want something else and I don't want to buy a laptop. Although before the end of this week, they might have the laptop that I want. Although kind of I'm thinking a G4 MacBook Air, and that won't be until next year. So,
a G4 MacBook
or
Air or an
yeah,
M4.
M4. It's like I'm staring at a G4 on the other side of my office, so sorry. Fell back in time briefly. I don't know.
Yeah, I would like a G4. Actually, I've been pining away for um not AirPods, the music players, the old Apple music players.
Oh, yeah.
Just because that I spent so much time with that form factor, and now I just don't do it. But it would be fun. Well, I
So
think
many possibilities.
we've gotten through our show, and next week
Yeah.
we'll reveal all. We'll reveal what we've learned about sharing spatial video effectively without compression. We'll also reveal what Eric finally did buy, if anything, by the end of the week. And maybe I'll have some surprises by the end of the week too. So, uh, so follow us on YouTube, youtube.com/at Vision Profiles, Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Catch us the video later or YouTube audio on any podcatcher service. You can find all of that. Um, we're doing some work with Chuck Joyner with Mac Voices, something called Vision Pro Focus. And Eric, we got to work out some times with him for the next show. Do it about every month or every 6 weeks or so, where we take a topical area of the Apple Vision Pro and just discuss that. This show is about weekly news, briefings, and things that we've heard about Apple Vision Pro. And Vision Pro Focus is about sort of topical discussion around aspects of the Vision Pro headset. So look for us with that, and we enjoy doing that with Chuck as part of the Mac Voices channel that he has. Thank you for tuning in. We'd love to hear from our listeners. If you have ideas, join or want to join an episode, email us at visionprofilespodcast@gmail.com. Our bumper music is Free Jazzy by Steve Combs, courtesy of the Free Music Archive. Learn more about us and Vision Profiles podcast on our website at visionprofiles.net. I think I've successfully moved the .info over to .net. Now, I still have a lot of .net work to do on it. You can also find out about all of our available podcasts at thepodtalk.net. Spread the word to other visionaries. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.